Economic Development Committee meeting of 4 December. The first item in relation to affordable housing options. Does someone want to move that? Andrew Turner, seconded Glenn Livingston. Are there any questions? Any discussion? Glenn?
Thank you. Just brief discussion there. I think with this, we please also see item 32, which is our submission over the Productivities Commission's paper on land use. I think this speaks into it in some way in relation to what we're doing. That paper using land for housing. This looks quite good, and it's about coming back for further work, including the possibility of looking at developer contributions over a longer period of time. Yeah, very exciting stuff. Good to see this, and I hope we do actually push through an affordable housing paper at some point.
Very good. Raf?
Staff to speak to this?
Oh, sorry, I was asking if there were questions before. Mike Teelan?
He'll do.
Thanks for participating. We're going to be talking Dudley Creek.
That's right.
You never know what's going to come up. Has there been any consideration given to using rural land to build on?
We already have a provision under the workers' accommodation provisions to allow rural land to be used more freely than it has in the past. But probably the other key thing is that we've, in the district plan review and also by the Minister's actions, have rezoned quite large tracts of land. And the key there is actually making sure we get the infrastructure in place to support it.
What I'm suggesting actually is not rezoning it, but actually building directly onto rural land before you actually rezone it.
Yeah, so there you run into basic, well, you run into, well, anyone can apply for a consent to do that. We wouldn't, obviously the plan rules wouldn't allow that, so it'd have to be a special consent.
Okay, let me say that again. What I'm saying is, rather than rezoning it and then allowing that extra value to be captured by the private sector, actually the council rezoning it for itself, and then the council actually engaging development to be done on that land. So obviously you're capturing the rural price of land.
I see, sorry. I think there's some equity issues there if council starts to become, the council's bound by the same rules as any other landowner, so we couldn't actually, if we were the owner of some rural land, we couldn't consent to ourselves to go and build on it. We would then have to go to a third party and ask for that to happen. So that would raise a whole lot of equity issues about how the council acts.
But could we consent it for somebody else to build on it?
We could give a consent, but we would have to apply the same test that everybody else has. And I think the argument that we would face from those communities, in all truth, is that there's sufficient land rezoned and there is infrastructure in place to accommodate that. There doesn't seem to be any shortage of available residentially zoned land in the city.
Yeah, I think the reality is that obviously the problem we have with the supply of land and land banking, and in a way that the cost gain from rezoning from rural to, we can actually just do away with that and actually just build directly onto rural land. It's a lot cheaper. I mean, that's
certainly a lot cheaper, but whether it passes the RMA test.
I don't know that it passes any legal
I'm just saying
tests.
that there is potentially some solutions out there around the zoning approach, and I think it's something that we should be looking at in this space. That's all.
I think there's also a risk though that that might work the first time. After that, rural land starts to suddenly obtain a different value, especially land within proximity to the city.
But obviously, if you're building enough houses and there's enough supply, then that's not going to be a big problem.
Yeah, but I think even if we go back to the government's housing accord, I mean, they haven't stepped away from the appropriate process of identifying, rezoning, getting the infrastructure in place and building. So it's a possibility, but it's a very fraught possibility, I would think, Councillor.
I like things like that.
A slightly easier question. Just in relation to the land that we own at Templeton.
We own land at Templeton? How much?
Quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
As
Sorry, ask the question and I'll see what I can answer.
I know this is really interesting, but do we have to, in relation to a follow-up report being requested I mean, I'm just thinking that I'd rather move the meeting along, and maybe I've been slightly too indulgent, surprisingly, with Councillor Manji. So, very relevant, yes. So, but do follow the issue up. I'm not saying not otherwise, but I'd really like to get through the agenda.
I mean, we could certainly have a discussion with the Deputy Mayor offline.
Yeah. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. The next item on the agenda relates to the Arts Voice Christchurch. Is that right? Yes. So would someone like to move that? Andrew Turner, seconded Paul Lonsdale. And is there any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. The next item on the agenda, homelessness and emergency housing. Does somebody want to move that item? Glenn Livingston, seconded by Andrew Turner. Is there any questions or any discussion?
Three words are the key, I think, here.
Yep.
Name the date. So we've heard about this. We just need to please have that date named to get this housing in place. We're between the winters and we need that housing.
Okay. All right, I'll put... Yes.
Slightly semantics, but I let this go at the committee and I thought about it afterwards, just purely for the sake of how it sounds. Just wonder if we could say request the date. It just sounds belligerent a bit, and I'm just thinking for the minutes, it gets the same outcome, unless that's the intention. But I just thought request the date. I left the meeting and I thought,
Are people
sounds
comfortable
rude,
with that?
But it'll get you the same outcome, I just think, for a minuted sort of thing, unless that may be the goal.
Yeah, something a bit
I
more
think you're being
diplomatic, it sounds.
it's just simply expressing
Totally
a
semantics.
degree of enthusiasm and support for the urgency of the situation, but I don't see there's any harm in changing it to request.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly more than requesting an update. We're wanting some definite information about what's going on.
Yeah.
To change name the date to request the date, I think, is reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I don't want to hold it
No,
up.
no, that's fine. That's fine. And then request the council work. That's fine. No, request is fine. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. The next item on the agenda is that the report as a whole be adopted. Moved Andrew Turner, seconded Glenn Livingston. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. The next item on the agenda